My name is Hannah Whitmore, and I never thought a single lie could unravel an entire marriage in one night. When my husband said he was meeting the guys, I believed him. Until I stepped outside our anniversary event and saw his car parked somewhere it should never have been. What followed wasn't chaos. It was clarity. This isn't a story about rage. It's about what happens when betrayal goes public and a woman decides not to disappear quietly. If you've ever trusted the wrong person, this story is for you. Tell me where you're watching from, and hit subscribe to stay with me until the end. I didn't plan to catch him. That's the part people never believe. It was our anniversary, 12 years, and the charity mixer was already loud when I arrived. A rooftop downtown, glass rails, city lights smearing into reflections. Luke had insisted on hosting this one. Good optics, he'd said. His words. He liked how they sounded. I wore the dress he bought because he said donors responded better when I did. I smiled because I always did. Luke kissed my cheek in front of everyone. Quick. Performative. I'll be tied up with the guys after, he said, low enough to sound considerate. Quick drink. I'll meet you at home. I nodded. That's what a good wife does when the room is watching. An hour later, the speeches dragged. A donor took the mic. Applause. Glasses clinked. I felt a tightness behind my ribs, the kind that comes when you've been on display too long. I stepped toward the elevator for air, my heels clicking too loudly on the tile. Outside, the night was warm. Traffic murmured below. I leaned against the rail and breathed. That's when I saw his car. Luke's black SUV was parked across the street, under a streetlight that flickered just enough to make it unmistakable. Same dent on the rear bumper. Same personalized plate frame he refused to replace. It wasn't angled like a quick stop. It was parked the way people park when they're staying. I told myself there had to be a reason. A client. A mistake. Anything. Then the townhouse door opened. I recognized it immediately. White stone. Narrow steps. The place he once said he hated because it felt too exposed. The place that belonged to his ex. She stepped out first. I felt my pulse in my throat. My fingers went cold. The night tilted slightly, like the city had shifted an inch to the left. Luke followed her. He wasn't rushing. He wasn't nervous. He looked comfortable. He leaned in to say something I couldn't hear, smiling the way he used to smile at me when we were still new and reckless and sure of ourselves. I didn't scream. I didn't drop my glass. I stood there and watched until my body decided what my mind couldn't. People were still filing out behind me. Laughter drifted. Someone said my name. Hannah? I turned. 2 colleagues. A board member's wife. Faces open, friendly. I need a moment, I said, and my voice sounded steady. Too steady. I walked back inside. Luke's phone was on the high top near the bar. He'd left it when he went to the guys. The screen lit up as I approached, like it knew. A message preview slid across. She's outside. Hurry. I picked it up. The room blurred. The hum swallowed itself. My hands didn't shake. That surprised me. I unlocked the phone because I knew the code. Of course I did. 12 years teaches you patterns. The thread was short and bold and careless. No poetry, no excuses, logistics, addresses, times, proof. Someone laughed behind me. A toast ended. Applause broke out. I raised my hand. The mic was closer than I expected. The donor was stepping away. I didn't ask. I took it. I'm sorry, I said, and my voice carried. The room quieted. Heads turned. Luke's boss. Our neighbors. People who had eaten at our table. I won't take long. I held up the phone. My husband told me he was meeting the guys. A few smiles, knowing nods. I just saw his car parked outside his ex's house. The silence landed hard. A cough. A chair scraping. Someone whispered my name again, this time like a warning. I think this belongs to him, I said, placing the phone on the podium. I didn't unlock it again. I didn't need to. We're done for the night, and for everything else. I stepped back. The room didn't explode. It collapsed. Conversations stuttered and died. Eyes searched for Luke like he might materialize and fix it. He didn't. I walked to the elevator. My reflection stared back at me in the mirrored doors, eyes bright, jaw set, mouth calm. The doors closed. Down on the street, the city kept moving. I crossed with the light, my heels steady. I stopped across from the townhouse and waited. Luke's phone started buzzing in my bag. I hadn't realized I'd taken it. It rang and rang. I let it. When he finally came out, he saw me immediately. His face went white. He took a step toward me, then another, like he might still be able to talk his way through this. "Hannah." I held up a hand. "Don't," I said. Not loud. Not soft. Just final. People were watching from the rooftop now, silhouettes at the rail. Phones lifted. I turned slightly so they could see us both. "You told me you were meeting the guys," I said. "You didn't even bother to move your car." "It's not—" "I don't care what it is," I said. "I care that you chose it." He reached for me. I stepped back. "I'm going home," I said. "I'll pack what I need. You'll hear from my lawyer." He laughed, sharp and scared. "You're being dramatic." That was the moment something clean snapped inside me. "No," I said. "I'm being precise." I walked away. Behind me, he called my name again, louder this time. It didn't pull me back. In the car, I sat for a second with my hands on the wheel. The city hummed. My phone buzzed, texts, missed calls, the world catching up. I didn't answer. I started the engine. By the time I pulled onto the highway, the humiliation had burned itself out and left something colder in its place. Something useful. I wasn't going to beg. I wasn't going to spiral. And I wasn't going to disappear quietly. I was going to take everything he thought was untouchable and make him watch it fall. Luke and I didn't start as a cautionary tale. We started practical. Careful. Two people who liked plans more than chaos. We met in our mid-20s, both newly employed, both convinced that stability was the same thing as love. He was charming in a contained way, good with people when he wanted to be, ambitious without admitting it. I was the organizer, the finisher, the one who remembered dates and deadlines. We fit because I filled the spaces he didn't want to see. When his career took off, mine stepped back. That wasn't a fight. It was a discussion that ended the way discussions often do when one person's future sounds louder than the other's. I moved us twice. I took contract work. I managed our calendar, our savings, our social life. When our daughter Maya was born, Luke called it the best thing we ever did. Then he went back to work the next morning. I told myself this was partnership. I told myself love could be quiet. The money came in gradually, then faster. Stock bonuses, incentives. Trips we didn't take because Luke was between quarters. I handled the accounts. Or so I thought. He liked to say he trusted me with the day-to-day while he handled big picture. I didn't question it because the bills were paid and the house grew nicer and the life looked solid from the outside. There were signs. I see them now with the clarity that only distance gives you. The phone that tilted away from me on the couch. The sudden gym membership he never used before. The way he'd shower the moment he got home, like the day needed to be rinsed off. The nights he fell asleep with his back turned. Exhausted in a way that didn't match his calendar. I asked once, not accusing, curious. He smiled and kissed my forehead. "You worry too much," he said. "You're safe with me." That phrase, safe with me, became a refrain, a shield. Every time I felt something off, he handed me safety like a sedative. His ex was a footnote, a story from before me, someone he said he'd outgrown. I believed him because I wanted to believe that the past stayed where you left it. He mentioned her maybe once a year, always casually, always with a faint superiority, like she'd been a lesson learned. Our daughter adored him. That mattered. Maya was observant, serious in the way children are when they're trying to understand adults. She watched how he left for work and how he returned. She noticed the silences. Once, when she was 10, she asked why Dad was always somewhere else. I told her he was busy building things for us. That was the story I sold to myself, too. After the night of the rooftop, I didn't sleep. I packed a bag quietly, moving through the house like a guest. I didn't touch his things. I didn't need to. The betrayal was already loud enough. At dawn, Maya padded into the kitchen. She took one look at my face and sat down. "Did he mess up?" she asked. I didn't lie. I didn't give details. I said, "Yes." She nodded, like she'd been expecting it. That broke something open in me. Later that morning, my friend Renee came over. We'd known each other since before Luke. She listened without interrupting while I told her everything, what I saw, what I said, what I didn't say. She didn't rush to comfort me. She asked questions, practical ones. "Are the accounts joint?" she asked. "Yes." "Is the house in both names?" "Yes." "Do you know how long this has been going on?" I didn't. Not yet. Renee leaned back and crossed her arms. "You need to assume it wasn't recent," she said. "And you need to assume he used your money." That sentence changed the temperature of the room. By afternoon, proof started arriving without me asking for it. A credit card alert I'd never noticed before, a transaction near her address from weeks ago, another from a weekend Luke said he was at a conference. When Luke finally came home, it wasn't with apologies. It was with irritation. "You embarrassed me," he said, standing in the doorway like a stranger. "You could have handled that privately." I looked at him and felt something settle. The last question mark dissolved. "This wasn't a mistake," I said. "It was a choice. Repeated." He scoffed. "You're blowing this up." Maya appeared behind me. She looked at him, then at me. "You lied," she said quietly. Luke opened his mouth. Nothing came out. That was it. Not the affair. Not the ex. Not even the money. It was the moment my child saw him clearly. I turned back to him. "You don't get to minimize this," I said. "And you don't get to control what happens next." That night, after he left, Renee texted me one line. "If you want to end this cleanly, you need to move fast." I stared at my wedding ring on the counter. 12 years of compromise sat there, small and dull under the light. I didn't cry when I took it off. I started making lists. I didn't wake up angry. I woke up organized. That surprised me more than the betrayal. There was no shaking, no fog, just a clean, quiet focus, like something inside me had finally decided what it was for. Luke didn't come home that night. I knew better than to wonder where he was. Wondering was a luxury I couldn't afford anymore. I made coffee. I opened my laptop. I pulled every document I could find. Bank statements, tax returns, insurance policies, the mortgage, the retirement accounts. Things I'd helped manage for years but never questioned deeply enough. I created a folder and named it exactly what it was. Evidence. By 8:30, I was on the phone with an attorney Renee had recommended. No theatrics, no long explanations. I told her what happened, where it happened, and who saw it. I told her about the accounts, the house, the child. She paused once. "Do not tell him what you're doing," she said. "Move first." I hung up and did exactly that. I froze the joint accounts I was authorized to touch. Not emptied. Frozen. Clean. Legal. Enough to stop him from moving money without a record. I changed passwords on anything tied to my name. Banking, cloud storage, utilities. I redirected statements to a private email he didn't know existed. Then I packed. Not everything. Just what mattered. Clothes, documents, Maya's school records, her favorite books, the framed photo from before things went wrong. I left the rest exactly where it was, let him walk into the quiet and feel it. Maya watched me from the doorway. "Are we leaving?" she asked. "For a little while," I said. "Somewhere safe." She nodded. No tears, just that same serious calm. She grabbed her backpack without being told. By noon, we were gone. I forwarded Luke's calls straight to voicemail. The messages stacked up fast. "Hannah, answer me." This is ridiculous. We need to talk like adults. By the fourth message, his voice changed. Lower. Controlled. You're making a mistake. I saved them all. That afternoon, I met the attorney in person. She didn't sugarcoat anything. She asked me what I wanted. I want my daughter protected, I said. And I want him cut off from pretending this was mutual. She nodded. Then we moved quickly. We filed for temporary orders. Custody, financial restraint, occupancy. Nothing dramatic. Just decisive. The kind of paperwork that looks boring until it destroys your leverage. On the way out, my phone buzzed again. Luke. I answered this time. What are you doing? He asked. Fixing what you broke, I said. You can't just lock me out of my own money. It's our money, I said. And now it's documented. There was a beat of silence. Then panic slipped through. You're overreacting. I smiled, alone in my car. No, I said. I'm responding. That evening, I listed the house. Not publicly, not yet, but with a broker I trusted. Quiet steps, strategic steps. I didn't need permission. I had equity and timing on my side. When Luke finally saw the email notification, he showed up where I was staying. He didn't knock. He pounded. Hannah, open the door. I stood on the other side and didn't move. You're destroying our life, he said. No, I said through the door. I'm ending the version that depended on your lies. His voice cracked. Just slightly. Please. That word would have worked once. It didn't anymore. You should call your lawyer, I said. You're already behind. I walked away from the door and into the kitchen, where Maya was doing homework like the world hadn't cracked open. That night, as I lay awake, I didn't replay the rooftop. I didn't replay his face outside the townhouse. I replayed the sound of his voice when he realized I was already 10 steps ahead. And for the first time since this began, I slept. The fallout didn't arrive all at once. It crept in through missed payments, unanswered calls, and doors that didn't open the way Luke expected them to. By Monday morning, his access was gone. He called the bank, then the credit card company, then me. You froze everything, he said, trying to sound calm and failing. My card declined at the gas station. That's what freezes do, I said. They stop movement. You can't do this without talking to me. I did talk to you, I said. You just didn't listen. He hung up. 30 minutes later, he called again. This time, his voice was tight with embarrassment. My boss needs me to front expenses for a client dinner, he said. Fix it. I imagined him standing at a terminal, someone waiting behind him, watching. The image settled in my chest like a small, quiet justice. Use your personal account, I said. I don't have one, he snapped. That's not my problem. The silence on the line told me it was now his. The story moved fast through our social circle. It always does when there are witnesses. I didn't post anything. I didn't explain. I didn't need to. The rooftop had done the work for me. By Tuesday, messages started arriving. Short ones, careful ones. Are you okay? I'm so sorry. If you need anything. No one asked what happened. They already knew. Luke's ex disappeared first. Her social accounts went dark. A mutual friend texted me, unprompted. She's telling people she didn't know you were still together. I didn't respond. Denial doesn't need an audience. The attorney filed the temporary orders. The judge granted them quickly. Luke didn't contest. He couldn't, not yet. The timing favored me, and he knew it. Custody defaulted to me. Financial restraints locked in place. Occupancy rights followed. The house was mine to control until further notice. When Luke realized he couldn't just come back and reclaim space, his tone shifted again. You're turning everyone against me, he said during one of his calls. You're enjoying this. I looked at Maya's school schedule on the counter, color-coded and calm. I'm stabilizing, I said. You're reacting. That afternoon, his sister called me. We'd always been polite, never close. I didn't know, she said, and I believed her. Dad's furious. I didn't ask for details. I didn't need them. The Whitmores valued appearances, and Luke had shattered theirs publicly. That kind of damage doesn't get repaired with apologies. Luke showed up again that evening, this time quieter. He stood at the end of the driveway like someone waiting to be invited back into a life he assumed was permanent. "Just let me see Maya," he said. "She has a schedule," I said. "You'll hear from my lawyer. You're punishing me through her." "No," I said. "I'm protecting her from confusion." He ran a hand through his hair. He looked smaller, not humbled, disoriented. "I can fix this," he said. I didn't argue. I didn't correct him. I let him sit with the lie. By Thursday, the broker called. "We have interest," she said. "Strong interest." I authorized the next step. Luke found out an hour later. His message came in clipped and fast. "You can't sell the house. That's my home." I replied once. It was our home. That night, I received a message from someone I didn't expect, one of Luke's colleagues. It was brief. I was there. I saw what happened. "I'm sorry. If you need a statement, I'll give it." I forwarded it to my attorney without comment. When Luke called again, he didn't sound angry. He sounded scared. "They're asking questions at work," he said. "People are acting strange." "That happens when lies lose their footing," I said. He exhaled sharply. "Please, just talk to me." I looked at the door, at the quiet, at the life already rearranging itself without him. "You should have talked to me before," I said. "Now you need to catch up." I ended the call. By the end of the week, the man who walked confidently out of his ex's townhouse couldn't pay for gas, couldn't control the narrative, and couldn't reach his family without resistance. And this was only the beginning. The second confrontation wasn't planned for drama. It was scheduled. Family court doesn't care about feelings. It cares about order, timing, and who shows up prepared. I arrived early, Maya's folder tucked under my arm, documents tabbed and clean. Luke arrived late. He looked different. Not disheveled, just strained, like someone who hadn't slept because sleep required control he no longer had. His suit was the same one he wore to the rooftop. That didn't go unnoticed. We didn't speak while we waited. People watched anyway. A few recognized us. Austin is friendly like that, friendly enough to remember. When our names were called, Luke stood too fast. He bumped the chair behind him. Small thing. Loud sound. Inside the room, the judge got straight to it. Temporary custody. Financial restraints. Occupancy. My attorney spoke calmly, efficiently. No adjectives. Just facts. Then it was Luke's turn. He cleared his throat. "I just want to say," he began, glancing at me. "This situation has been blown out of proportion." My attorney didn't interrupt. She didn't need to. Luke went on. He talked about stress, about misunderstandings, about how public embarrassment had forced his hand. He said he'd never intended to hurt anyone. He said I was being inflexible. The judge looked at him over her glasses. "Is that your position?" she asked. "That your wife publicly exposed an affair that didn't exist?" Luke hesitated. "Just long enough." "I didn't say that," he said. "I'm saying it was complicated." My attorney stood. "Your Honor," she said, and held up a printed still from a security camera across the street. Time-stamped. His car, her house, then another, a credit card receipt, then a message thread header. No commentary, no flourish. The judge nodded once. "I've seen enough." Luke opened his mouth, closed it. Outside the courtroom, people lingered. Lawyers, clerks, families. Conversations overlapped and paused when we stepped out. That's when she appeared. His ex. She stood near the exit, arms crossed, jaw tight. I hadn't seen her since the night at the townhouse. She looked smaller here. Exposed. This wasn't her territory. Luke saw her and froze. "What are you doing here?" he hissed. She laughed, short, sharp. "You said you had this handled." I didn't stop walking. I didn't need to be part of their exchange. But voices carry in enclosed spaces. "You told me you were separated," she said. You said it was done. I said we were complicated, he snapped. She turned and saw me then. Really saw me. The silence stretched. I didn't know, she said to no one in particular. I stopped. I turned just enough for my words to land. You knew enough to meet him anyway, I said. That was your choice. Her face flushed. She looked around. Too many eyes. Too many witnesses. I'm done, she said to Luke. Don't contact me again. She walked out without another glance. Luke stood there alone, his mouth slightly open, like the script had changed and no one had handed him the update. A man from his office passed by us then. He nodded at me. Not warmly, respectfully. Luke noticed. Hannah, he said, following me into the hall. Please, this doesn't need to be public. I stopped again. People slowed. Phones lowered. Sound sharpened. You made it public, I said. I just refused to hide it. He reached for my arm. My attorney stepped between us without a word. That's enough, she said. Luke's voice cracked. I'm losing everything. I looked at him fully for the first time that day. No, I said. You spent everything. The hallway went quiet. Not dramatic, final. I walked away. Behind me, Luke didn't follow. He couldn't. By the time I reached the parking lot, the story had already shifted. Not whispered, not debated, settled. And for the first time since this began, I saw it clearly in his face. He understood. He wasn't fighting to fix things anymore. He was fighting to survive the fallout. Luke didn't retreat quietly. Men like him never do. 3 days after court, the narrative shifted. Not in my favor, but loudly enough to try. Subtle at first. A coworker unfollowed me. A mutual friend sent a careful message asking if everything was really as bad as it looked. I didn't answer. Then the posts started. Nothing explicit, nothing reckless. Just enough implication to seed doubt. A quote about 2 sides to every story. A photo of Luke at his desk captioned staying focused despite personal challenges. Sympathy bait, polished and deliberate. He was trying to look wounded. Renee called me that night. He's positioning himself, she said. Victim angle, stress, misunderstanding. You're being framed as emotional. I laughed once, not because it was funny, because it was predictable. Let him, I said. The thing about lies is that they need oxygen. They need engagement. They need you to react so they can grow teeth. I didn't give him any. What I did give him was time. While Luke curated his image, I compiled receipts. Not hacked. Not leaked illegally. Just documented truths he'd left scattered everywhere. Credit card charges tied to her address. Calendar invites he forgot were shared. Messages backed up to a cloud account he assumed I'd never check. The attorney greenlit what could be shared and when. Everything else stayed sealed, ready. The turning point came when Luke pushed too far. He posted a long note, measured, regret-tinged, carefully vague. He wrote about marital strain, public humiliation, and being cut off from his child. He didn't name me. He didn't have to. The comments split instantly. Support, confusion, doubt. That night, Maya showed me her phone. A classmate had sent her the post. Is this about your parents? The girl had asked. That was it. I didn't respond emotionally. I responded surgically. The next morning, my attorney released a single statement. 1 page, factual, neutral, no adjectives, no accusations, just dates, outcomes, and public record. Attached, 1 image. Luke's car, time-stamped, parked outside his ex's townhouse. No commentary. The effect was immediate. The comments under his post turned, questions sharpened, screenshots circulated. Someone reposted the image with a single line. This your misunderstanding? Luke deleted the post within an hour. Too late. By afternoon, the story had escaped our circle. Not viral in a sensational way, worse, quietly credible. The kind of story that professionals pass along with a shake of the head. A local blog picked it up. No names in the headline, just implications. Tech exec's public affair complicates divorce proceedings. Enough for people who knew to know. Luke called me that night, voice low and urgent. "You did this on purpose," he said. "I corrected the record," I said. "You're trying to destroy me." "No," I said. "I'm letting your actions speak." He exhaled sharply. "You don't understand how this works. I need my reputation." I thought of Maya, of the message on her phone. "You should have protected it," I said. "I'm protecting her." The next blow came from his own side. His firm placed him on temporary leave. Not disciplinary. Pending review. Corporate language for distance. His boss stopped returning calls. A scheduled speaking panel quietly removed his name. The ex resurfaced briefly, scrambling to explain her side. It backfired. Contradictions stacked. Screenshots emerged. She deleted everything within a day. By the end of the week, Luke had no narrative left to spin. Every attempt to soften the truth only sharpened it. Every denial revived evidence. The more he talked, the smaller he looked. He showed up at my door again. This time there was no anger in him, just panic. "They think I'm a liar," he said. I stood behind the door and didn't open it. "You are," I said. "That's not a campaign. That's a conclusion." When he finally walked away, it wasn't with threats or promises. It was with silence. The kind that follows exposure, when the story is no longer yours to control. And for the first time, the public saw him the way I always had at the end. Not powerful, just exposed. The collapse didn't come with fireworks. It came with paperwork. That's how real dismantling happens. Not loudly, not dramatically, but line by line, signature by signature, until there's nothing left to argue about. Luke's attorney finally surfaced 2 weeks after the PR fallout. A junior partner. Polite, careful, late. That alone told me everything. Power doesn't send understudies unless it's already losing. Discovery began quietly and then accelerated. Accounts Luke claimed he barely used turned out to be active. Transfers he couldn't explain appeared in neat rows. Weekend withdrawals matched hotel stays. The affair wasn't just emotional, it was financed, with marital funds. The judge didn't appreciate that. Neither did the court-appointed financial reviewer, who flagged irregularities Luke had never expected anyone to look for. Expense reimbursements padded, bonuses routed creatively. Money moved just far enough to feel clever. It stopped feeling clever when it was read aloud. Temporary orders became permanent structures. Custody formalized. Luke received supervised visits until he completed parenting counseling, not because he was dangerous, but because he'd proven unreliable. That distinction mattered. It cut deeper. Maya didn't ask questions. She didn't need to. Children feel stability before they understand it. Her nights got quieter. Her grades ticked up. She stopped checking the door when cars passed. The house sold quickly. Full asking price. Clean offer. Short escrow. Luke found out after the paperwork cleared. "That was my equity," he said when he called, his voice hoarse. "It was," I said. "You spent yours already." After fees, penalties, and equalization, what remained went mostly to me. Not out of cruelty, but math. His attempts to hide money worked against him. Courts don't reward cleverness when it comes with dishonesty. Then came his family. His father requested a meeting. Not with Luke, with me. We sat across from each other in a quiet cafe. He didn't waste time. "I raised him better than this," he said. I didn't contradict him. "He embarrassed us," his father continued. "Publicly." I nodded. "Whatever support he expected," the man said, "he won't be receiving it." It wasn't vengeance. It was disapproval, the kind that doesn't fade. Luke's brother pulled out next, quietly. No confrontation, just absence. Invitations stopped. Calls went unanswered. Loyalty has limits when the cost becomes social credibility. Even his sister, who once called me apologetically, went silent. By then, Luke had moved out of the city. Not far. Just far enough to feel displaced. The apartment he found was temporary, sparse. He complained once about the noise. I didn't respond. Work followed the same pattern. The review turned into a restructuring. His role was eliminated. Severance was offered, modest and conditional. He signed without negotiation. He didn't have leverage anymore. The ex tried to reattach herself once. A message, then another, then a voicemail. Luke didn't respond. He had nothing to offer her now, not protection, not access, not status. Whatever fantasy she'd stepped into had collapsed under scrutiny. By the time the final decree was drafted, Luke looked older. Not in years, in posture, in the way he spoke, in the way he paused before answering, as if waiting for permission that no longer came. We met once more at the courthouse to sign. He tried one last time. This didn't have to be so extreme, he said quietly. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't lean in. It didn't have to happen at all, I said. But once it did, I wasn't going to lose twice. The pen scratched across paper. Final. Irrevocable. When it was done, he lingered, like someone waiting for an encore that wasn't coming. I gathered my folder. I didn't look back. By the time Luke walked out of that building, he had no house, no family backing, limited access to his child, and a professional reputation that would follow him longer than any resume. And I had something far more valuable than what he lost. I had clarity, and nothing left tying me to his collapse. The last meeting wasn't dramatic by accident. It was inevitable by design. Luke asked for it through his attorney. Not a call, not a message to me directly. A formal request framed as closure. I almost declined. Almost. But there are endings that don't finish themselves. They need a witness. We met in a neutral place, a conference room downtown, rented by the hour. No symbolism, no nostalgia. Just a table, 2 chairs, and a window that looked out over traffic that didn't care who we were. He arrived early. That surprised me. Luke was never early unless he was afraid of missing something. He stood when I walked in, then hesitated, unsure whether he should. That told me everything I needed to know. I sat first. He followed. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence wasn't heavy. It was hollow. The kind that comes after everything important has already been said elsewhere. You look different, he said finally. So do you, I replied. It wasn't an insult. It was an observation. He looked smaller, not physically, but structurally, like a building after internal supports are removed, still standing, no longer solid. I won't take much of your time, he said. His voice was careful now, measured. This was a man who had learned too late that tone mattered. You asked for this, I said. Say what you need to say. He swallowed. I never meant for it to go this far. I didn't interrupt. I know I made mistakes, he continued. But what happened after? Losing my job, my family, my reputation. Hannah, that wasn't proportional. There it was, the final plea dressed up as reason. I leaned back slightly. You're confusing consequence with punishment, I said. I didn't assign you anything. I stepped out of the way and let the truth move forward. He shook his head. You didn't have to expose me. I didn't, I said. You parked your car under a streetlight. His jaw tightened. I loved you, he said abruptly. In my own way. I looked at him then. Really looked. No, I said. You depended on me. There's a difference. The words landed. I saw it in his eyes. The delayed recognition. The realization that this wasn't a fight he could reframe anymore. I'm not asking to fix things, he said quickly. I know that's gone. He stopped, searching. I need to know if you ever think about what we had. I didn't answer right away, not to hurt him, to be accurate. I think about what I protected, I said, and how much of it was only real because I carried it. He nodded slowly, like he was finally understanding a language he'd ignored for years. I'm struggling, he said. The admission was quiet. Everything feels unstable. I believed him. And it didn't move me at all. That's what happens when your foundation was borrowed, I said. He looked down at his hands. They were empty. No ring, no watch. He used to care about those things. I don't expect forgiveness, he said. But I hoped we could end this without so much distance. I stood. This surprised him more than anything else. We already did, I said. This meeting isn't about closure. It's about you wanting confirmation that I still carry you somewhere. He opened his mouth, then closed it. I don't, I said. That was the moment his composure broke. Not loudly, not dramatically. His shoulders slumped, his breath caught. The performance ended. I don't know who I am without you, he said. I picked up my bag. That's not my responsibility anymore. He stood too, desperate now. Please, he said, just tell me you don't hate me. I paused at the door. I don't hate you, I said. Hate requires investment. I turned back to him one last time. You didn't lose me when I walked away, I said. You lost me the moment you assumed I would always stay. His eyes filled, not with tears, but with something worse. Understanding. I opened the door. Hannah, he said behind me. What do I do now? I didn't turn around. You live with the version of yourself you chose, I said, and you stop asking women to save you from it. I walked out. The hallway was quiet. The elevator doors opened. I stepped inside alone. As the doors closed, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt finished, not emptied, completed. By the time I reached the street, Luke was already behind me, where he belonged, and I never looked back. 3 years passed without an announcement, no milestones, no dramatic before and after photos, just quiet accumulation. I moved into a smaller house on a tree-lined street where no one knew my history. Mornings became predictable again. Coffee, school drop-offs, work that didn't require me to perform competence for someone else. I rebuilt my career deliberately, choosing contracts that respected time and paid transparently. The money stabilized. Then it grew. Maya changed too. Not in the way people expect after a divorce. She didn't withdraw. She expanded. She spoke more, laughed easier. She stopped apologizing for taking up space. When she asked questions, they were thoughtful, not anxious. At school conferences, teachers talked about her confidence. At home, she talked about plans. One night, she said, I like that it's just us. So did I. Luke became a background fact, like a street I used to drive down but didn't need anymore. His name surfaced occasionally through mutual acquaintances. Short updates, no embellishment. He moved again, changed jobs, started something new that didn't last. His visits with Maya settled into a routine that was polite and distant. He tried once to be friendly with me. I kept it neutral. Boundaries don't need hostility to hold. I didn't follow his life. I didn't need to. Distance did the work for me. What surprised me most wasn't the freedom. It was the absence of fear. I stopped bracing for disappointment. Stopped scanning conversations for shifts in tone. Stopped managing someone else's reputation as if it were my responsibility. The mental space that opened up felt almost indulgent at first. Then it felt normal. I traveled with Maya the summer after everything finalized. Nothing extravagant, just places we could walk, eat, and sit without schedules. One afternoon, she watched couples arguing quietly across a cafe and said, "That looks exhausting." I smiled. "It is." She nodded, satisfied, and went back to her book. That was when I knew she was going to be fine. People asked if I'd date again. I didn't rush to answer. Desire returns when safety does, and I wasn't interested in shortcuts. I learned to recognize peace not as emptiness, but as alignment. When someone showed interest, I paid attention to how they handled silence, boundaries, and truth. Anything less than steady didn't get past the first conversation. I didn't need intensity anymore. I needed integrity. One evening, years later, I ran into Luke unexpectedly at a grocery store. He looked thinner, tired. He smiled when he saw me, tentative. "Hannah," he said. "Luke," I replied. We stood there for a moment, Two people connected only by history. He glanced at Maya, who nodded politely and kept walking. She's doing well, he said. Yes, I said. She is. He waited, like he expected more. An update, an invitation. I gave him neither. When I got home, I didn't think about him again. That's how I knew it was over. Betrayal teaches you many things if you let it. Not about other people, but about yourself. Where you bend, where you break, where you decide never to negotiate again. I didn't rebuild my life to prove anything. I rebuilt it because I deserved one that didn't require vigilance to survive. Luke lost relevance the moment he mistook my loyalty for permanence. I gained something quieter and far more durable. Freedom without explanation. And I never once wished him back. Thank you for tuning into the Velvet Revenge channel. Please subscribe and hit that like and hype button for more stories like this. See you soon.